During the active development of information technologies, we constantly encounter an endless flow of information. By information, I mean not only news, but also all kinds of videos, music, and other new elements. Our brain chaotically attempts to absorb all this incredible amount of information that comes to it. This poses significant challenges as the information is often disjointed. For instance, take the Instagram feed, where you can find useful tips, entertaining videos, and snippets of Formula One races. All this information stream settles in your brain, creating a process of information hyperconsumption. However, that's only half of the problem. The other half lies in the fact that algorithms of such social networks are designed to keep you hooked. You are compelled to endlessly scroll through the feed because you know that sooner or later you will come across exactly what interests you. Such algorithms are created by intelligent individuals based on common knowledge in the psychology of personality and masses. Furthermore, the video that would be interesting for you tends to have a very short duration. In other words, it provides you with a quick burst of emotions. It rapidly triggers parts of the brain responsible for happiness and pleasure. The fastest of these triggers is dopamine, which activates first. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter that transmits signals within the brain. It is produced during pleasurable human activities, such as eating, watching a movie, engaging in sexual activity, or buying desired items. Initially, the amino acid tyrosine is formed. Through a chemical reaction, it becomes the molecule L-dopa, and finally, dopamine. Dopamine plays a crucial role in the functioning of the central nervous system. The thought of a delicious bun or an evening date elicits a pleasant feeling. We recall the pleasure we experienced in the past. It is through dopamine that we are stimulated to achieve success repeatedly. If our body suddenly stops producing dopamine, we won't get off the couch because we can't receive the deserved reward. Dopamine works in 3 brain regions: the hypothalamus, substantia nigra, and the ventral tegmental area, which are involved in the reward system. The hypothalamus is quite small, weighing about 5 grams, but it is responsible for important processes. For example, hypothalamic nerve cells monitor the neuroendocrine system, helping us adapt to changes. It also controls the level of hormone production by the thyroid gland, sex glands, and adrenal glands. Its neurons regulate internal organs. Dopamine in the hypothalamus affects sexual desires, food addiction, and aggression levels. The substantia nigra regulates physical activity, breathing, and heart function. If there is a lot of dopamine in this brain area, a person enjoys moving and engaging in sports. It brings pleasure. A small amount of dopamine triggers the opposite reaction. People do not enjoy physical activity, and walking too much becomes unpleasant. This area is also associated with Parkinson's disease. As a person ages, more neurons in the substantia nigra accumulate Parkin's wrong proteins. They destroy cells, dopamine decreases, and then the body can no longer fight. Parkinson's cannot be completely cured, but patients are given supportive medication, which are the L-dopa molecules, the precursors to dopamine. The ventral tegmental area of the brain influences emotions and motivation, the sense of reward. It sends nerve impulses to the basal ganglia, which are responsible for our reactions, reflexes, and feelings. As a result, the speed of thinking and the ability to process information depend on dopamine. The more dopamine there is, the faster the brain works, and the person strives to obtain new information about what is happening. This is crucial because it strongly influences a person's mood and ultimately their determination of their place in life. If we avoid delving deeply into scientific terms, a low level of dopamine causes depression and apathy in people, while a high level leads to scattered attention and concentration problems. What is dopamine fasting? The concept of dopamine fasting was first mentioned in 2016 on Reddit. A user proposed participating in the dopamine challenge, abstaining from sweets, binge-watching TV shows, making purchases, consuming alcohol, and drinking coffee for 40 days. Psychotherapist Cameron Sepa brought dopamine fasting into the spotlight in the summer of 2019. He published an article on LinkedIn explaining how abstaining from social media, pornography, and fast food affects cognitive functions. Previously, people received dopamine, the reward sensation, more slowly and in smaller quantities. New technologies have simplified tasks. Fast food, for example, eliminates the need to cook, and there's no need to travel across town to chat with friends. Movies can be watched online instead of cinema. As a result, people's expectations and preferences have changed. For instance, food has become more calorie-rich and tastier, and pornography makes sex more accessible. Effort is no longer required to obtain desires, leading to addiction to quick pleasures, and individuals become increasingly dependent on dopamine, potentially falling into a dopamine loop. Let's examine how this works with pornography. In modern porn, an actor with a perfect body engages in 40 minutes of continuous sex without getting tired. The actress also has a beautiful figure and makeup. There is no need for preparation. It is painless for her, and she does everything. The image is too perfect, causing a massive dopamine release. Over time, the body demands an even higher dose. A person goes in search of an even more perfect image, and so it goes with everything. This is what is called a dopamine loop, says psychologist Karina Vishnevitskaya. Cameron Sepa proposes dopamine fasting as a way to lead a healthier and more conscious lifestyle. Learning to control dopamine levels and receiving it in smaller quantities is a key aspect. This helps eliminate the constant desire to spend hours on the phone, eat unnecessary chocolate bars, and consume energy drinks. Scrolling through Facebook and watching cute dog videos sharply increases dopamine levels, but these pointless activities distract us from important issues. The psychotherapist suggests freeing up this time for work and conscious actions aimed at personal growth. Initially, the idea of dopamine fasting was proposed for psychotherapy for people with addictions to limit pleasures that cause a strong dopamine release. After a couple of weeks, the brain becomes sensitive again to normal doses of dopamine, and a person takes pleasure in ordinary joys, explains Vishnevitskaya. Sometimes, due to a misunderstanding of Sepa's ideas, people try to live as hermits. For example, some Silicon Valley employees took dopamine fasting to the extreme. Some of them abstained from eating for a day, avoided talking to people for more than 5 minutes, forbade themselves tactile contacts, and simply worked to exhaustion. Although Sepa wrote in his work that during dopamine fasting, it is necessary to rest well and regularly go on vacation. However, by avoiding interaction with loved ones, people deprive themselves of oxytocin, the hormone of attachment. Secure attachment plays a crucial role in feeling happy. An excessively ascetic lifestyle can affect mental and physical health later on. If a person is not used to denying themselves pleasures, it is better to first reduce the load or gather strength to try at another time. Otherwise, there is a risk of relapse. Dopamine fasting is also used to treat alcohol dependence. Regular alcohol consumption in moderate doses leads to addiction. People with alcohol dependence lack strength and mood until they drink. Dopamine neurons refuse to work without the desired substance, so a person starts drinking early in the day. This leads to alcoholism. Sudden withdrawal results in withdrawal syndrome. The only way out is to stop drinking, and gradually the brain adapts to receiving less dopamine from alcohol. People also use a similar approach to overcome tobacco and drug addiction. How to organize effective dopamine fasting. It's not complicated. Regularly set aside some time, several hours or even a whole day, and consciously restrict yourself from the desires that are problematic for you personally. For example, if you can't imagine life without your smartphone and social media, during dopamine fasting, you should put away all gadgets and simply disconnect from the world of familiar pleasures. Professor Sipa suggests following a schedule for dopamine fasting from 1 to 4 hours at the end of the day. The time may vary depending on your work and family needs. 1 weekend day per week. For example, Saturday or Sunday. Ideally, spend this day outdoors. 1 weekend per quarter. It would be good to spend it on a hiking trip with loved ones or visit a neighboring city to admire the sights. 1 week per year. Combine dopamine fasting with a vacation. The recommendations may seem commonplace, and indeed they are. Dopamine fasting is far from an innovative idea. Any psychologist will tell you that sometimes you need to take a break from gadgets, work, news, and dedicate time to simple things like walks and spending time with family. Additionally, in most world religions, there are days prescribing taking a break from work to contemplate in silence and tranquility, spend time alone with oneself and loved ones. So, dopamine fasting is just a new trendy term for a time-tested method to recharge and reevaluate life values.